Hello everybody, this is Sky. He's one of my boys. And this is what I mean about the grooming table. Let's just turn him around. Okay, it's just big enough to fit him on. He's quite a good size adult, so you don't need a table bigger than this, but he's nowhere to wander around, so he's got to stand on the table for me. So this portable table is a great size table. I'm going to go through daily brushing and what you need to do to manage your Havanese coat. So the first thing I'm going to do with Sky is to remove his top knot. He's got an elastic band in it, but it's very important I don't drag it through his hair and spoil his hair. So I am just going to take the scissors to that and cut it out. And I'll use my brush to just break that plait down. Are you having a rest, Sky? And the second most important thing you need to do is to remove the collar. If you have a collar on your dog and you don't remove it, then they're going to mat around the collar area. So you need to remove the collar when you're doing your daily groom. And I'm going to take the brush and I'm going to go through all of the coat with it. Can you see at the bottom where he's got wet, how it's all stuck together? The slicker brush is really good for breaking that up and separating all the hair. So these slickers are very, very good for that, the flexible ones. Only have the flexible ones because they don't spoil the coat. But this wooden brush is lovely for a nice daily groom, just getting it through his coat. And what you've got to do with the Havanese is you've got to do it in layers. You've got to get every single bit of the coat. So working my way from bottom to top, and I want to see the skin. If you can't see the skin, they could be matted. So work from the bottom, all the insides of the legs, all his underneath. I've done that bit. I can see his skin here, so I'll do the next bit. So you can either work from bottom up or from top down, it doesn't really matter, but what you've got to do is break it up and do it in layers. So let's move forward, start at the bottom, get all this underneath bit. You always want to make sure you go into the skin. Next layer, and then the top bit. Because what you can do, you can brush, and there can be a knot right here next to the skin. So you've got to go from the skin to the whole length of the coat, all the way down. Now when we get to the legs, there's a lot of fur around here on the inside. I just lift his paw, and I can do underneath there, but I can also do this bit, and this bit, their armpit, is where they're not because of the friction from walking. So if I lift his paw, it allows me to go down on the inside. And again, I can use my brush to separate. I can see the skin, and I'm working down in layers, and I'm holding the bit I've done out of the way and just going through the coat in layers. And then I just make sure I've got all the inside of that leg done as well. And I can even do the inside of the opposite leg whilst I've got that one lifted out of the way. So where I've removed his collar, I can feel it's tugging a little bit. So this is where your combs come in. A comb will always find knots. So if you can find, so that one oh, there we go. It's found the knot for me. And I don't know whether you can see this, but there is a little knot there, and that's caused by the friction in his collar because he was only brushed yesterday. The best way to deal with a knot is to pull it apart, is to gently pull it that way, and gently break it down. This is just loose fur that the dog has shed, but because they're a non-shedding, it just means it stays in the coat and it doesn't fall out. And then start at the bottom and work your way up until you get to the point where the knot is, and then try and break it down until you can get to the point where you can actually comb it through. Let's pull it apart, and there we go. And if you want to check, you can go in with a finer comb, and I can get the fine comb through. So that knot's now gone. Stand, Sky. And again, if you want to go in with a finer comb, you will find any tiny little knots. I always think a comb is your telltale as to what condition your coat's in, really. So I can get the comb all the way through his coat now I've brushed it. So the brushes are great for daily maintenance, but a comb will really find any little spots or anything that you've missed, any little mats. Now Sky sleeps on his back, so Sky tends to get not matted but knotty here, so I always got to pay special attention to this area here and his tail, because he's an upside down dog, aren't you, Sky? So start at the bottom, then work your way up the shaft of the hair if you think you could have tangles there, so that you're not going in at the top and dragging it through and breaking the fur. Just be gentle. There we go. So what I'm going to do now is turn it around and do the other side. Go that way. Okay, so you can see where we've been for our walk this morning. The fur's not looking as nice as the side I've just brushed. It's all sort of sticks together when they get a bit damp. So stand. Slicker will just break it all up, and it will separate all those hairs. See how much better that looks now. So slickers, you know, they're good for breaking down mats. They're good for separating the fur, but they can be quite harsh because they're like little pins. So it's not something I use all the time. I prefer a more gentle, soft wooden brush. Stand, Sky. A wooden brush for a daily once over. So special attention round where the collar's been, in layers, lifting the coat as you go all the way through until you've done every layer, every single layer and every inch. You've got to be methodical with a Havanese. You've got to make sure you grab everything. It's very easy to just do this all the way over and think your dog's done. Well, actually nothing underneath has seen a brush. It's the underneath layers that are really, really important. So lift all this out of the way, stand, all this out of the way, and start with the bottom, going through these bottom layers. Sky, stand. Good boy. That's it, good boy. Lift the leg and get in all these underneath bits here. They're so important, because this is the easy bit to brush. It's getting underneath that really matters. An inside leg, so again you can lift one leg whilst you do the inside of the other leg, because the dog then is immobilised really. Only lift it in the way that it will actually move, don't lift it in any other direction, but I can lift the leg and do all underneath here. Then sit. Pay special attention to where the collar's been, because this area will get knotted. It's a very, very thick area of fur on a Havanese. It's probably the thickest part on the body. So special attention to working through it in layers. Start at the bottom. I can just hear by the sound of the brush we've got a few little knots where his collar's been overnight from yesterday. And make sure you do not just the top of the ear, but that you lift the ear and you do the underneath, because where the ear joins on the head is where they tend to get knotty. So make sure you do. You can turn the ear the other way and just gently have a little split here in the ear. So I tend to cover that and then gently do the underneath of the ear as well. So you've got all the layers of the hair on the ear. Head up. It's like your bed head, Sky. Right. Let's do this one. So we do it from the top, and I do it from this side as well. And then finally the head hair. Now I'll give it a quick comb with this gentle brush, but also I'm going to go in with a comb, because this part of the head is in everything. It's in the water bowl, it's in the food dishes, it's in the bushes when they go for a walk. So this is where they tend to get a little bit sticky. They can get debris in the fur, and you want to keep it nice and clean. So I'm just making sure I can get a comb through his face. Under the chin can get especially knotty. See, I've just combed a little bit, and this is what happens. That's a little bit of loose fur, but it stayed in the coat, and this is why it's important to comb the Havanese, irrespective of what length they are, because the fur will always stay in, and the only way you can get it out is by brushing and combing it out, and that's how you'll prevent knots and mats in the future. I can feel a little knot there somewhere. Just brush that through. There we go. And then fine end of the comb for around their eyes where they get the sleep, and just brush that out. Comb that out, I should say. And there we're done. So if you want to style your dog, you want to get the fur out of their eyes, you really need to tie this top hair back. And this is where a fine comb comes in, so that you can separate and you can play around. I'm going to put him in a plait, I think, today. But that's my last thing to do, is to check his underneath. I've done stand. Let me just do around the back end. Make sure that you get every single inch of the dog brushed through in layers. So separate as you go, separate as you go. And the last thing I'm going to do, start moaning like a pair of bagpipes. This is underneath, to make sure that although I've done it from the top, there's nothing I've missed. So just make sure all this, and it's a good chance to get under his legs. He's used to this, so he's quite happy for me to do this. Just hold them up and make sure you've done everything underneath. There we go. Good boy. Okay. Let's get an arto band. This is a dental band. It's only small. We'll just secure the ends. That's you done. Let's put your collar back on, Sky. There we go, all done. What a good boy. Give us a smile. Do we get a smile? No? Okay. And that's him done for the day.